Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Gokulananda ki Jai Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Shri Gaura Nitai ki Shila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vashadradesha Darine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Shimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Shimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Maipur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Kshetra Dham Ki, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Assembly devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Assembly devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Assembly devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nasimha Parato Nasimho Yato Yamitato Nasimha Bahir Nasimho Hridaya Nasimho Nasimha Nadim Saranam Pratade Tavakara Kamalavare Nahakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanupringam Keshavadvirtha Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nasimha Dev Jaya Nasimha Dev Jaya Nasimha Dev Jaya Nasimha Dev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Shri Simha Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna everyone, thank you so much for attending the Arati. We will have a Bhagavad Gita class here, very interesting topics to discuss, so please stay. And we also have Mahaprasadam served in the reception. Hare Krishna.
For me? David? David? Are you sure? Or it's for me.
I'll have it on my. Actually, yeah, go together. Why not? Why not? Why not? You can put it on this. 10:26. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, I have my own actually. I have my own. Thank you. Sorry. Hare Krishna. Hi, Krishna. Hi, Rob. Do you guys want to sit this side? Just so I don't have my back to you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Ashvataha sarvarikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitrataha siddhanam kapilo muni. Of all trees I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among demigods I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings I am the sage Kapila. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The banyan tree, Ashvatha, is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chitraratha. Amongst the perfect living entities, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, is a representative of Krishna. He is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So as mentioned, we're reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 26, where Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, he's giving different descriptions or analogies to help Arjuna, or to help us ultimately understand him in an indirect way. For those who cannot understand Krishna personally, this is a way to understand him in relation to other things. For example, he mentions, of all trees I am the banyan tree, of the sages among the demigods I am Narada, of the Gandharvas I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings I am the sage Kapila. And so we can understand Krishna, how great Krishna is in relation to these things that we see in the world and that we have experience with. But behind each of these, there is a symbolism that's given. Krishna is giving these analogies for a certain reason. For example, banyan trees is the greatest of all trees, or the best of all trees, because it's not only like Prabhupada mentions it's used and it's the most beautiful, one of the most highest and beautiful trees, but it's also a nice analogy that I was thinking, that in the same way a banyan tree, if you've ever seen a banyan tree, its branches grow upwards and pretty much in all directions. So in the same way, Krishna's energy pervades this entire universe, like we can see his energy in everything. So in the same way, like the banyan tree is spread in all directions, Krishna's energy is spread in all directions. For example, Narada is the best of sages among demigods, and I found a very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that describes Narada Muni. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, verse 42, where it says, Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies, for Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. And in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, it's mentioned that Narada is described here as the most beloved son of Brahma, because of good behavior, obedience, meekness, and readiness to render service unto the Father. And Narada is famous as the greatest of all sages, because of his being the greatest of all devotees. Narada is the spiritual master of many famous devotees of the Lord. He is the spiritual master of Prahlad, Dhruva, and Vyas, down to the forest animal hunter Kirata. His only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, all these features of Narada make him the dearmost son of his father. And all this is due to Narada's being a first-class devotee of the Lord. The devotees are always anxious to know more and more about the Supreme Lord, the master of all energies. Next in the verse, it's mentioned that of the Gandharvas, Krishna is Chitraratha. And for those who don't know, Gandharvas are like beautiful singers from the heavenly celestial planets. And they're like very beautiful singers, and their voices are so beautiful that they shower flowers during Krishna's rasa dance in Krishna book, in chapter 33 of Krishna book, where it describes the rasa dance. As it progresses of the rasa dance, the Gandharvas are singing, and the demigods as well. The other demigods are also showering flowers on Krishna and his associates. And similarly, there's a very nice pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 10, verse 19, in which Lord Chaitanya is singing the holy names of the Lord, and Vakreshwara Pandit was dancing, and he fell at Lord Chaitanya's feet and asked for 10,000 Gandharvas to sing as he danced, because they had such beautiful voices. And in the purport to this verse, Prabhupada mentions that the Gandharvas, who are residents of Gandharva Loka, are celebrated as celestial singers. Whenever singing is needed in the celestial planets, the Gandharvas are invited to sing. The Gandharvas can sing continuously for days, and therefore Vargeshwara Pandit wanted them to sing wanted to dance as they sang. So in the same way, as we can see, the best singers in the material universe is described. Krishna saying that these are, if you can recognize someone who's a good singer, and you can appreciate them and think, wow, that person's amazing. That person's such a beautiful singer, and you can really appreciate that the best person I've ever heard sing. In that same way, you can understand that Krishna is the best singer, like that, and in relation to the best singers in the material universe, like we may hear in the material world so many nice songs, so many nice singers, but firstly, Krishna is saying, okay, of the Gandharvas, of all singers or all beautiful singers in the material world, the Gandharvas are the best, and in the same way, like they are the best of the singers, I'm the best among everything, in the material world, like that. And also similarly, Chitraratha is the king of Gandharva Loka as well, of that planet, like that. Next in the verse is, finally in the verse is, Lord Kapiladev is the best among perfected beings. And so Kapiladev is a perfect being because he enlightens his mother about the science of self-realization, and in particular, the summary of the process of bhakti yoga, of Krishna consciousness, and that is connecting with God, with Krishna through devotional service. And he also explained the psychology of pure consciousness, and the importance of devotee association, and that's all mentioned in the teachings of Lord Kapiladev, one of Srila Prabhupada's books. And overall, Kapiladev is wonderful because he is an incarnation of Krishna, and he distributes transcendental knowledge. So we hear a lot that, like I said, in this chapter specifically in the Gita, Krishna is giving many analogies as to why he is so great, and in a lot of ways, like why he should be worshipped, or why we should worship him, and Prabhupada's emphasizing that point. And we hear a lot in other faiths and religions that God is great, I think this verse, this purport, is very well, nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. At this point, I have one thing last to share, but if anyone has any questions, thoughts, comments, anything additional to add, please feel free. Anything at all? Sure. So there's a really nice conversation that I found with Srila Prabhupada in Tehran in 1976. Srila Prabhupada says, "That's it, this is greatness. We should not simply be satisfied God is great. We must try to know how great he is. Then our God consciousness will be fixed up. It's all right." And one of his disciples, by the name of Treya Rishi Das, says it's very beautiful. And Srila Prabhupada laughs and says that people are not interested. Only officially chanting God is great, that's all. Finished. Business finished. You try to understand Atato Brahma Jignasa. This is the Vedanta Sutra. Jignasa, go, inquire, be inquisitive. Jignasa Shreya Uttamam. Tasmad Kurum Prapadyata Jignasa Shreya Uttamam. It's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 3, verse 21. He says, so one should be inquisitive. That is human life. And as soon as you become inquisitive, you become aware of God more and more. Then your devotion increases. That is wanted. So as I mentioned, Krishna is explaining himself in this chapter indirectly, as I mentioned, not on a sort of in an impersonal way, so that we can understand him. Because if we cannot understand him in an impersonal way, then he explains it in a way that we're naturally being enswelled, and through so much conditioning we have become impersonal, and so we can't understand Krishna maybe because of that conditioning, because he is obviously a person like that, and so he's kind of meeting us halfway of where we're at and saying, actually, okay, if you want to understand me indirectly, then look at by your experience in the material world, this is how you can understand me, like that. And when we understand how great Krishna is, then we can be fixed in devotional service. And that's why in this chapter specifically, Krishna gives these descriptions so that, we can think, wow, Krishna is amazing. Let me serve this person. Let me do something for him, like that. This came up in our recent Bhakti Shastri exam, so it's been on my mind. But yeah, naturally, when we see someone that, even amongst devotees, when we hear like a nice speaker or singer or someone who does sort of service, and we think, oh well, this person is really amazing. Let me do something for them. Let me just do something for them to please them. Naturally, that love or that at least appreciation is there. And so, in the same way, by understanding Krishna, how amazing Krishna is, by reading descriptions of him, his pastimes, his qualities, and understanding him more and more, we can develop that at least connection with him, thinking, wow, this is the supreme, and I would like to do something to please the supreme, something like that. Yes, is there any comments, questions, anything else that anyone would like to share? One thing that is just coming to mind from this conversation with Srila Prabhupada is that Srila Prabhupada is obviously encouraging us to learn about Krishna, not to just accept blindly that what we're given in Krishna consciousness, what we hear, what we read. He's saying one should be inquisitive. That's human life, and as soon as you become inquisitive, you become aware of God more and more. And he says, then your devotion increases. Devotion means devoted. You become more serious, you become more committed to Krishna consciousness, to the practice, to the process, to devotional service, to serving Krishna, serving the devotees, acting within Srila Prabhupada's movement, being more responsible, taking spiritual life very seriously. And of course, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme. He's amazing. He's so amazing we can't understand really how amazing he is, but we can try. And Prabhupada mentions this. You try to understand, inquire and try to understand. And not just officially chanting God is great, but then just saying that kind of externally. Try to understand. One nice thing that I heard recently is, maybe actually some time ago, but I was reflecting on it recently, is that, when we see pictures of Krishna, we think, oh wow, it's a really beautiful person. And someone was sharing with me recently, one mentor of mine, that there's no form of Krishna in like the photos that we can see that actually he is beautiful, he is amazing, but compared to what he actually looks like, it's almost like there's no material way that we can express that, using even like colors, for example. There's no material color that matches the spiritual color of Krishna. Sometimes we hear that he's like a bluish, blackish hue like that, but actually we don't have that color in our material world, in that kind of range, and we don't have the vision, we don't have the ability to actually appreciate that. So even Krishna is so beautiful that maybe we can sometimes think like, I don't really fully appreciate it. In one sense, we can't with this material vision. So we need to develop that through the process of devotional service, through chanting, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, associating with devotees, taking up some service, regulating our senses. In that way, then our senses become purified. Then we can actually see Krishna. So many times, like Srila Prabhupada was asked, can we see Krishna? And he would say, not with this material vision that you have, not with this material sight. You need to purify senses. Then you can. And he'd say honestly, yeah, you can. Even just earlier in this week, I was speaking with some university students, and I've been involved in Krishna consciousness for some time. So I said to them that I've been involved with this many years or something, and then they asked me, and I said, I spend a lot of my time with other monks and things like that. And then they said, those people who have seen Krishna, like, what does he look like? And it's quite difficult question to ask, because how do you describe like Krishna? What does Krishna, like devotees have definitely seen Krishna, like face to face in this world. They can have that vision. And yeah, it's interesting because like I've never before my life before Krishna consciousness, you would think that God is like this energy and we can't see him at all. But you know, Srila Prabhupada's offering that opportunity. Actually, you can see Krishna. It's someone you can see, someone you can interact with, have a relationship with, a personal relationship with. And so many of the students I was speaking to earlier this week were amazed to hear that not only does God have a form that you can see, but is someone you can interact with. And when many sort of visitors come to the manor, come to the temple, and they see the deity, they're amazed, like, God is a person. You know, you can actually serve him, you can interact with him, you can see who you're serving. It's not that you're like serving a light, you know, like a light or an energy, or like meditating on some sort of vague, obscure, abstract form. You know, Krishna's a person, he's there. He's really there. And he's always available. You know, Krishna is in the heart, and so he's always accessible. You know, he's like, yeah. Wow, I've not heard that. I mean, it sounds true. It sounds it could definitely be true. I'd be interested to know where I heard that. But I mean, it sounds like, I mean, Srila Prabhupada's a pure devotee of Krishna. He loves Krishna and Krishna loves him. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's not good to speculate, but can understand that Srila Prabhupada is at that level where he has such a personal relationship with Krishna. You know, like there's that common pastime that we hear that he was, there's a roaring kirtan going on in the temple room, and then afterwards Srila Prabhupada said, oh no, it was quite a quiet kirtan, and the devotees were feeling like it was quite underwhelming, and they said to Srila Prabhupada that kirtan was quite mediocre, you know, it's quite quiet and not so fired up. And they felt quite guilty that it wasn't so enthusiastic. And Srila Prabhupada said, "No, did you not see Narada Muni? He was there. He was in the room. I saw him. You know, and he mentioned some other personalities who also appeared. And so, yeah, similarly, you know, if we have that spiritual vision, we can. I mean, Srila Prabhupada's had that spiritual vision. He could see these different personalities, and so, yeah, and it's happened. Like there are many accounts of different devotees who, even very, very early in their Krishna conscious life, in their spiritual life, Krishna has appeared to them out of their sincerity, but ultimately Krishna's courseless mercy and just kindness to visit his sincere devotees, or his devotees, or those who have come to Krishna consciousness, come to the process. Yeah, there's like one devotee who I've heard that within like something like a year or two of coming to Krishna consciousness, taking up chanting and reading, Krishna came to him directly. He could see them, or came to them directly, and they could see them he could see him face to face. So we should always feel like Krishna is always there. He's always accessible. He's always there, like, and he completely understands our situation. Yeah. Yeah, one time Charuvnath Prabhu recounts this one story where Srila Prabhupada was asked, you know, why is it that your devotees go through pain? And Prabhupada said, like, what's this? He said, like, the lover, what's this biting thing? And he said, oh, it's a love bite, Prabhupada. He said, yeah, just like the lover bites their partner, kind of their lover, like just like that, Krishna bites his devotees. And devotee never really feels like, pure devotee at least never feels like what they're receiving is suffering. They actually feel that it's expression of love between Krishna. You can certainly see it in devotees in the movement. When something bad happens, they either think, oh, this is Krishna's mercy, like this is just fun. And this is like an adventure, you know, preaching especially is an adventure. And I think the more that we surrender, we can feel that actually. the more that I've had some experience of that. When you fully surrender to a service and you're in some ways feel quite hopeless, you're just, okay, Krishna, you've got to help me out with this because I don't know what I'm doing. Then he really shows you that he's there and he really takes care of you. From my experience, I feel like, it's almost like an internal consciousness or thought process that me being covered by my false ego, me thinking I can do it by myself, Krishna is almost like, okay, you can do it yourself, go do it yourself. The minute I say, Krishna, I really need your help, you need to help me, then he's like, oh, I'm helping you. You've asked me for help, I'm there. So if we surrender, we ask for his help, like he says in chapter 18, verse 66, abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. And the last 3 words of that is, do not fear. Don't worry. Prabhupada also makes that point in that there's one class where one devotee says, like, how long does it take to surrender? And he says 1 minute, depending on how, he said you're chanting, you're reading. Prabhupada says, Krishna says 1 minute, like, you surrender and he takes care of you and you have no reason to fear. Masucha, do not fear. Does that answer your question? Is that okay? Sure. We can also read like many accounts of like Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit on many stories where it's just obvious Krishna is just helping or getting kind of keeping things growing in the movement. And especially with preaching as well, like if we're on the front line preaching, for example, book distribution, university preaching, preaching on the streets, speaking to anyone and everyone about Krishna consciousness, sometimes you just realize that like we can't really do anything. Krishna is actually just helping us anyway. I had this experience a few weeks ago where I was at, I think it was somewhere in Watford, we were doing book distribution there, and you kind of have these openers, this list of openers in your mind of what to say to people when you go up to them. So I went up to everyone and I say, we've got these books about, yoga and meditation and, how to be happy in life and things like that. And so I have that saying, I just say it to everyone pretty much. But then I saw this one girl and I said, hey, we've got these books about yoga and meditation. And straight away she said, wow, I'm like, I do some meditation at the moment. And I was thinking, wow, okay, this is great. So I said, what kind of meditation? And she mentioned some things she did. And then I said, we've got these books, have a look, see if something resonates with you in the books. She flicked through the book and she was like, wow, this is amazing. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And she's studying at university and, none of her friends really are interested in this sort of thing. So she's also looking for association. And then it so happened that weekend, I think this was 2 weeks ago, that following Saturday was the Casey Talk retreat here, the university retreat. And so like on Thursday evening, I messaged her and I said, we've got this university retreat this week. We've got this like meditation retreat for university students if you'd like to come. And she signed up within 2 minutes and came and had the best time and met like-minded people who, she made friends that time with people who are striving for the same thing as she is. And anyway, so I was just like really reflecting on this afterwards that like Krishna just completely arranged that situation. Like I said the same thing to 100 people that day maybe. And it's nothing to do with me, actually. And so, anyway, I did that service. I tried my best, but really, it's like, what can we really do, preaching-wise? Like, what can we really do without Krishna's mercy, Krishna's kindness? Krishna's completely sent that person just to, come to the manor. She came to the manor. I spoke to her the other day. She wants to come to the manor again and visit more often. She's getting more involved with the university societies. She's reading more. Like this is like 3 weeks time. 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks of being involved and meeting devotees and things like that. So it's amazing when. Yeah, my main point is just that when we're on the front line especially, and we think, or I certainly thought that, oh, I'm going to go on the books and go on the streets and do like 100 books. Like, you know, it's nothing I did, you know. It's like completely just turn up and surrender, and Krishna really shows you that he's the boss, you know, and he's kind of managing everything. Tribhuvannath Prabhu once said that, don't think you have better ideas than Lord Chaitanya. You know, don't think you know what's the best thing to do except him. It's his movement, it's his mission. He wants it to spread to every town and village. It's going to spread to every town and village, whether or not we are involved. He's Krishna, he's God. He says something, it has to be true. And so we decide whether or not we want to be a part of that. And if we want to engage in Prabhupada's movement. And like Prabhupada says, you know, it's like spiritual life may be difficult sometimes, but being a materialist is impossible. And so, yeah, it's a golden opportunity that we have to do something meaningful. I was speaking to some university students on Thursday, and the kind of team that runs that certain university, and we were talking about just this opportunity, and even aside from like spreading Krishna consciousness or helping and taking up some responsibility in the mission, it's also just an adventure. Like, it's just so much fun. Bhakti Swami was, His Holiness Bhakti Swami was once asked what was, you know, because he was Srila Prabhupada's personal servant, personal cook. And so he was once asked, you know, what was it like serving Srila Prabhupada, being his personal cook, being his personal servant? And Maharaj's answer was quite interesting, because he said actually we, you know, that's quite a kind of like a funny question, because he said we didn't really see it as service to Srila Prabhupada, we just saw it as fun. We were just running around doing things for this amazing personality, and we, you know, it was still very deep and profound and you know, far out to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. But he said it was just an adventure, you know. And, you know, Prabhupada would have this bell on his desk, and whenever he needed something, he'd ring the bell, and devotees would go, like, run and see what Prabhupada wanted, what next he desired from his disciples. Yeah, I've had some experience with that as well, spending some time serving my spiritual master, and it's just so much fun. Like, even the smallest thing, like, I remember one time when we were at the temple that he was kind of managing and inspiring the devotees who were running. In the for morning class, I was asked to go and get bottles of water for my spiritual master, and that was just like the most simplest thing, really. But I was like almost fully blissed out, just running to get water. It's like the simplest thing. Like, someone said to me, Maharaj doesn't like the water that comes out this tap, so you need to go and get bottles from this room. And I'll be like, right, Maharaj needs water, I'm going to go to get it. And I ran, and I got water and brought it back. And then, like, I was watching him as he pours it into his glass, like, I got that, you know, I did something. So, yeah, even the smallest service, you know, is like completely blissful. Is there any other comments, questions, anything else to add? Please. Yeah. Yeah, the more I think about it, like, sincerity is the cost of Krishna's mercy. Even though it's causeless and Krishna can do what he likes, even if we're sincere, but if he sees a sincere devotee, then he always helps them. It's like that pastime, I forget all of the details, but it's like that pastime with Shyam Sundar Prabhu, where they were looking for funds to raise for either building or maintaining the temple, one temple. And so, he was sitting down with his wife and trying to work out ways that they could generate more Lakshmi. And then they couldn't figure out, they went for a walk. And as they're walking, like, it started raining, and then money just started falling from the sky. Like, I don't know if it was like dollars or pound notes, but it just started falling from the sky. And it's like, how does that even happen? So, yeah, it's very practical. Even I was telling the university students the other day that Krishna consciousness is not just theoretical. It's like real. It's practical. It's there. Krishna really arranges things, and you can see it anytime we're doing devotional service to our maximum capacity and ability. Then Krishna just arranges things just to be so smooth, even though you can be like tired or hungry or like in the worst mood or something. He just sorts you out. He just arranges everything.
What you said about chapter 18,
Mm-hmm.
where Krishna said, "The surrender to me, do not fear."
Mm.
Although you trust Krishna, sometimes can get scary.
Mm. Mm.
It's waiting for things to happen.
Mm.
How do you keep faith at that time?
For me, and I've had this recently, in the last maybe 4 or 5 months, especially actually, I've been staying at the manor for about 2 months now, and that's been a very test of my faith. But when I think back, that Krishna has always taken care of me. Like, when none of us are, one devotee said was giving a talk to Pandavasena, our Manor's youth group, and said that, like, look at all of the cars that devotees drive to the manor. They're all really nice cars, like, Mercedes or whatever. And like, it's like they're all really nice cars. So like, you're not being involved in Krishna consciousness never means you're kind of suffering materially. You're always taken care of in that sense. So there's nothing to ever worry about. And then look, we're all relatively healthy and relatively fed and well fed and taken care of. Krishna's always taken care of us. And you can only ever really connect the dots looking backwards. Right now, you could think, that this happened and then that happened, and like, it just doesn't make sense. Why is Krishna doing this to me? But then you look back and it's just, wow, that was so good that happened, because otherwise I wouldn't be at this point now. Before I came to Krishna consciousness, in the year that I came, I was committed to, not committed actually, I was just interested in lots of faiths and religions. And at the time, I also, this was some time ago. Yeah, this was, I remember that was a real test of my faith at the time, because before I came to Krishna consciousness, pretty much every or many avenues of my life had just completely crumbled. And then I came and I actually realized, well, I would never have gotten involved in Krishna consciousness if those things were still part of my life. And I'm so grateful that they kind of crumbled, or they kind of left me, and I kind of was able to just embrace Krishna consciousness. So, it's like a common story that's given that, someone is driving to work and then their car breaks down, and he's like cursing, like, God, why are you doing this to me? And then, kind of God tells him, no, if you drove to work, you would have gotten in a car crash and died or something, And so it's a good thing that your car's like, not working or whatever. It's good that you took the train or something. So, yeah, I think it comes with just time and realizing. Introspection's really powerful. Noticing, like, Krishna's just arranging so many things. Even like the things that we would never have thought of. One time I was serving breakfast. This was maybe like a few months ago. I was serving breakfast in the Haveli, and as I was serving, there was, I think it was like flat rice or something, and it was like running out. So by the time I got there was only like the crumbs of the flat rice left, And I hadn't eaten anything before, and so then I thought, okay, I'll just have these crumbs, right? And I had it, and I did think before, should I, save myself a plate? Like sometimes that's okay. So then I didn't, and in the end I had those crumbs. But then, like maybe like a tablespoon of flat rice or something, and then for the whole day I just felt my stomach was full. And it's like you just accept what Krishna gives you. Sometimes if he sees you just trying your best, then he just kind of makes you satisfied. He kind of, doesn't really, he takes care of us. He takes care of us in that respect. So, yeah, it's a profound realization about flat rice. Yes.
Thank you, Rishibu. I have a question also about, in terms of preaching, do you think it's best to talk like generally, or to be more direct in terms of, this is yoga, make us happy, or else this is Krishna consciousness and Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Krishna is supreme, and so on. I wonder, how do you feel, which is the best approach?
Yeah, I think it's a common question we have in Krishna consciousness, like in preaching, whether to go sort of the bridge method and kind of speak about yoga, meditation, vegetarianism, things like that, or if we just go hardcore, Krishna is God and you need to surrender your life to him. And I think it just depends on, my approach is extremely personal. Like I don't feel like I would make any impact, or even that person would appreciate Krishna consciousness if I gave them the process in a very direct but impersonal way. And I just feel like Srila Prabhupada gave it in a personal way. In the beginning, I've heard this, that when Srila Prabhupada gave the philosophy, many devotees couldn't take to it. It wasn't enough for them to, theoretically, they understood it, but it wasn't enough for them to chant, read, and, serve. And but then they saw how much Prabhupada cared, and then they surrendered their lives to him. And so I think that aspect of care has to be there. In terms of how we approach people, I usually start with yoga and meditation on book distribution, because it's kind of buzzwords, and people are kind of more towards that mindfulness meditation space at the moment. And then if they stop, then I kind of push a little bit more, and I say, these books explain how we are an eternal spirit soul, and we're looking for material, temporary happiness, but we're eternal. So how can we be happy with temporary things? And they really understand that. That always usually resonates with them. And then I say, have a look at this book, see if anything resonates with you. And then they usually read it a little bit, and sometimes they take the book. And then after that, I try to not just let them take the book and leave and walk away and think my job's done. I try and get their contact details so I can stay in touch with them. And yeah, it's like that Maya Angelou quote that we hear often, that people won't remember what you said or did, but how you made them feel. So I think that's a big part of what I find helpful. But yeah, there's also an aspect that we've got to be authentic. We can't water it down too much. Otherwise, we might end up doing too much meditation, yoga, mindfulness, and not so much of the substance of Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Anyone else at all? Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Normally we have our plan for material side point of view. Normally we have plan, right? You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do that, right? Same like that. Okay. So if we have a plan for our spiritual kind of activities, does it contrast with what you say is Krishna is the doer. Correct or not? First we say Krishna is the doer. Another thing is that we want to have our own plan to get certain things be achieved. The things comes that when we fail to get what we plan to achieve. For us to do motivation, for us for start our devotional service, we are going to plan like, I'm going to distribute this much of book, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. Okay, that is what we are going to, that's what we want to do in plan for the devotional service, right? Okay, does it contrast with like, Krishna might have his own plan?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we try our best and we let Krishna do the rest. So we use our intelligence and our resources, and we try our very best. We try and organize and plan things as best as possible, and we try our really best within our scope. But we know that we can't control everything. Like I can say the most. We have the most amazing books. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone that I show them to is going to appreciate them and read them thoroughly. So, we try to explain as best we can. We try and, like I said, plan and organize things, different projects, different services as best we can. And then we just understand that, again, we have that faith that Krishna's plan is better than our plan. Krishna's plan is better than our plan because Krishna's plan means that eventually I'll go back to him. I'll go back to the spiritual world. That's his plan. Whether it takes this one lifetime or 10 lifetimes or 10 million lifetimes like that, Krishna has a plan. We can see it in certain areas, certain projects, certain services. Even Prabhupada remember it like this: certain temples weren't built or certain things didn't happen. But then, in the long term, in the bigger picture, it meant that bigger things could happen at the right time. But we should use our intelligence. We shouldn't think that. We shouldn't sort of renounce the idea of planning and using our intelligence. It's said that we should write our plans in pencil and give God the eraser. So sometimes I used to do this, but especially before moving into the ashram, that I had a to-do list. I have a long to-do list, even though it still exists because I didn't get anything really done. But there's a long list of things I want to do, different kind of things I'd like to learn and things like that, different things I'd like to study. And whenever I look at that, sometimes I think, okay, I'm trying to always remember that this is just pencil. This could change. This is my plan of me, okay, I've got 5 hours today, let me try and get this done. But then, I'll be working on it for 2 hours and then someone may need help with something and I accept, okay, this is what I need to do, this is important right now. So scope changes and we accept that change as Krishna's plan. We know that, the thing is like Krishna, one of the 6 opulences of Krishna is that he is most renounced. So it's not that he's deciding, like he's not like, and sometimes we can have this because we have so much conditioning of like, and ultimately it comes down to envy, like deep-rooted envy of Krishna's not on my side. He's against me, he's testing me, God hates me, or he's trying to like, he's not, who's it that, someone who said once that, I heard some quote once that, God is like he's like a bully, and he's like, he's getting, he's just picking on me like that. But Krishna's not like that, like we can see he's just taking care of us. He doesn't, excuse me, he's taking care of us, and he's the most renounced. He doesn't need anything. It's not like he needs to, if your car breaks down, it's not that Krishna wants, he has some desire for your car not to work, for you not to go to work, or have some issue in the day. He's doing it ultimately for our benefit. So we can always have that faith that because he's the most renounced, he's detached from everything. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need he doesn't need anything in the sense that in that sense he can do anything for us. Right? He's completely detached from everything. Like if devotee needs money for a service, Krishna will just arrange for that devotee to have, like if it's a sincere desire, like if I really wanted to build a temple and and I was pure devotee and I wanted to build this temple just to glorify Krishna and preach to people, then Krishna would give me that money. You know, like Shyam Sundar Prabhu, that pastor I mentioned, like they had a sincere desire to save Krishna's temple at that time. I think it was either building a temple or maintaining a temple, sustaining a temple. And they surrendered. They thought, what are we going to do otherwise? We just want Krishna to have like a nice temple where we can worship him. So then Krishna, you know, excuse me, Krishna sent the resources to do that. Yeah, and at least in the beginning stages of bhakti, up until the path of Nishta that I've heard, or the stage of Nishta, sorry, I've heard that one's spiritual life is in one's own responsibility, and at or after the stage of Nishta, steadiness, then Krishna takes more responsibility for a devotee's spiritual life, like that. So up until that point, we need to be serious and we need to be fixed up. Excuse me. We need to be responsible, and it sometimes can be more of a push from our side, whereas later Krishna sort of arranges and helps his devotees more. Yeah. Does that help?
Thanks.
Jai, any other questions? Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think because Krishna's in the heart, he understands our intention. So like, if I really wanted, for example, to, you know, like this became a real common question now and then when you especially speak to new people, they say, if I enter the lottery and trying to win money for Krishna, obviously it's gambling, we avoid that, but if I wanted to win the lottery, then I'd give it all to Krishna, I'd give it all to the temple. But then, you know, Krishna doesn't really want or need our money. Like if he wanted a big temple or wanted a nice temple, he'd do it. He'd kind of arrange for it. But what he really wants is our devotion, our love. And so, like, he doesn't, you know, when we put, like in this donation box here, if we put like £10 in it, Krishna doesn't see, firstly, he doesn't see what we put in, but what we hold back. And also he sees the intention. Like, am I doing this just because it's a good thing to do, which is nice, you know, it's still mode of goodness, it's still the right thing to do, but am I doing this because I really feel like I want to support the temple, I want to give to Krishna like that. So, but yeah, Krishna's in the heart, we can't lie to him. Yeah, he sees our heart. Thank you for answering them, otherwise, don't know what I do. Thank you so much.